Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, DaVon Lewis. Welcome to another episode of my podcast as I'm conducting the AEW Dynamite review. As we're getting tonight's card was phenomenal from start to finish as they were hosting from Phoenix, Arizona, which Tony Khan delivered when it came to tonight's matches all around. We had two title matches. We had Hangman Adam, well, not two matches, but we basically ended up having two title matches. We had Tony Storm and against a Red Velvet with Deanna Praza at ringside. Then we also ended up having the main event, which was Sting and Darby Allin taking on Big Bill and Ricky Starks. These boys put on a clinic, and you couldn't ask for anything more directly off the gates. The other matches in the card, we ended up having Hangman Adam Page taking on Swerve Strickland. You couldn't go on with that too. These boys put on the clinic tonight as well. Tony Khan continued to deliver in this trios. This basically this trio of the match. The match you couldn't get any better when it came to this. I highly was invested from start to finish. The Phoenix crowd really were really into this match. They pretty much showed themselves. They really highly delivered, and you couldn't ask for anything more when it comes to this match. We also ended up having an announcement from Tony Khan. He was directing a couple of things when it comes to AEW. He hinted at more money, which will be Mercedes Martinez. That's what it's hinted at based on the decals and everything that was on the bottom. We ended up most likely going to see as we're heading towards Boston in 5 weeks for a big business show, which he's planning on putting on a big card that following TBS on AEW Dynamite. So we shall see what happens in the long run when it comes to what happened directly with that card. Also, we end up having Chris Jericho getting into a one-on-one battle with Taneska Tateska. This match was a banger as well. And we also had a nice surprise from someone making their direct return, which was Sammy Guevara, which was kind of nice seeing him come back and making his return when it comes to AEW. We haven't seen him for a little bit after he was taken out by the Don Callis family, but he came out and he was out there on the side with helping out with Chris Jericho as he was going to battle with the Don Callis family going into AEW Revolution next month for March. We also end up having a nice little trios action. It was the BCC taking on Uprising Stars and CMLL and a nice trios action. This was a banger as well from my own hot take from start to finish. You couldn't go wrong with that match whatsoever. I really was highly invested into this match, the way how they were doing nice transitional moves, and it really kept the fans highly invested from start to finish. Um, Starting off, we ended up having the Tony Khan going out with all the big guns blazing, as he ended up having Hangman Adam Page taking on Shane Swerve Strickland and a singles match, which ended up being not too bad, not too shabby for my own personal take, as these boys put on a clinic all the way throughout the whole entire match. They put on some nice transitional moves. Hangman was able to hit a couple of his trademark moves. Same when it comes to Strange Strickland. He was doing his thing and he was doing everything he possibly can. The fans were a toss up as the fans were really turning on Hangman Adam Page. And the longer they were booing him from start to finish, and you could just seeing the tensions in his face and seeing how he was just demeanor completely changed the way how he was carrying himself. But Prince Nana was there as well, being a phenomenal manager, one of the greatest managers you can ask for when it comes to AEW, and he was doing his thing as usual, as he was swerving and driving, doing his thing, and being a nice hot take of being there for Shane Strickland as he continued to be on his path of being the AEW World Champion, as being the first one, as we heading towards Black History Month and continue to represent and show our love to every single Black professional wrestler who has stepped in that square circle. This match went the long distance for 35 minutes. They really put on a nice match, but the match ended up ending in a draw, which ended up really was a surprise to everyone. This with the distance. They had to put all the guns because they delivered in the first match and the second match, which I attended at Full Gear, and you couldn't ask for anything better when it came to the way how Hangman and Swerve really put the fans at the focal point, and they have such great, phenomenal chemistry when you put them two together. The match concluded basically with Swerve hitting the JML driver, and the bell rung, and the referee was kind of wondering what happened, and then the time limit expired. And then the conclusion of the match ended up happening with Hangman Adam Page um, being out, laid out on directly on the ring mat, and he had Swerve in the corner. He had asked for a mic, and his hot take was, he said, "You know how this directly goes." He said, "I want 5 more minutes." The crowd was all into it, and he threw the mic directly at Hangman, who was laying on the floor. But the announcers on the outside were able to give him another direct microphone, and Hangman was smiling and smirking, kind of playing that heel role to a sense. And he told him straight up, "You lost. Take the L. You're never going to get this back." And he said, "The match is over." And no. And he rolled directly out the ring. As he was basically leaving the ramp, Tony Khan, not Tony Khan, but Tony Schiavone came directly from the announcers area. And he said he has a big announcement from Tony Khan, and that the match will concluded, but it will turn into a three-way dance as Hangman Adam Page, Swerve Strickland, and Samoa Joe are going to go to battle in the match, and it's going to take place at Revolution in March for the main event for the AEW World Championship. As this was a real hot take when it came to how they were doing things and going from there, and it was something you asked for. And I'm looking forward to this match. I'm probably going to end up watching the pay per view and be highly invested to see where to take the storyline from there. Hopefully, Swerve Strickland come on top. It's well deserved. It's his time for 2024, and I think he's the man to take the title directly off of Samoa Joe if it comes down to the wire. So we work our way towards the next pay per view coming up pretty soon. Then it cut to the commercial break, and then Renee Paquette, she's in a direct interview with Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe basically had a decent promo. He was directing everything on how he felt about the competitors, and he basically delivered a nice set tone and being straightforward and serious, and says that he's going to come on top as being the AEW World Champion, regardless what happens from them with their pettiness or how they deliver themselves. But he's going to be the one the main one, the main last man standing. And they went ahead and cut back directly into the ring. And then we got things underway as Red Velvet was taking on Tony Storm. And we ended up having Deanna Perrazzo at ringside for commentary. Deanna Perrazzo was putting bullet points directly on the chemistry that she had with Tony Storm, and then bringing the distraction back to the ringside as Tony Storm and Red Velvet put on a performance. They really were putting into their own and really delivered a phenomenal match, and you couldn't ask for anything better with the way how they delivered themselves. They really were going back and forth with high moves, nice little spots, transitional chain wrestling, and this was a decent, cool match from the women's division. I was highly invested in it, and you couldn't ask for anything better when it comes to the AEW women's roster. The match concluded with Tony Storm picking up the victory with the ankle lock directly on Red Velvet, and Red Velvet tapped out. And then Tony Storm still did not want to release the ankle lock as she was looking directly at Deanna Prazo, who was directly at ringside. Then Deanna Prazo took off her headset, walked directly upstairs, got into the ring face-to-face confrontation with Tony Storm, and then Luther came in there to try to break up, be the peacemaker as the tensions will continue to be high, as they continue to be on that road path for the AEW women's match coming up in the near future. If it's coming to Revolution or it'll be for next one of the events, either Dynamite or Collision. But the most part, I see this women division become a red hot take as you continue to go into so many different avenues and directions with this division, and you couldn't ask for anything better. Um, Moving forward, they end up having a direct interview with Renee Paquette as she was interviewing Orange Cassidy and Best Friends, and they ended up having Orange Cassidy and of course Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero as they were addressing everything, and then Trent basically asked was Orange Cassidy, was he ready for his upcoming match, as he's looking to have a nice one with Hero, which that's going to be a really nice, good banger from my own take and from my own personal view. Orange Cassidy said he's more than willing and ready, and he's ready for the challenge for that following match for the international championship. So we shall see what happens when it comes to that. And then, of course, Trent Beretta also readdressed everything that was going on, including the case on his tag team partner, Chuck Taylor, and seeing how everything was coming along directly with him. And he really put some key points, said, hey, he's back. He's backstage. He's getting evaluated to get cleared. And he'll be back ready, rocking and rolling, ready for to come back to join the group. And then they handle some more business in the upcoming future. Um, then they went ahead and cut to the next following match, which was the BCC, the Blackpool Combat Club, as they were taking on CMML talent, which was Cesaro, Mosca Dorada, and Valerado Jr. These boys put on a nice clinic. I truly enjoyed this match. This trio's action really was nice transitional moves. They started off the gate red hot. Everybody was getting into a brawl. Some nice high spots. The CML talent was really winning their own, really showcasing, really opening their eyes for other people to really be invested and highly invested in seeing where they go in their own long run. And I look forward to seeing what they do with the X talent in the long term booking. This match went the long distance. Brian Danielson also had his couple match standard technicalities with his Cesaro, which they had a nice match in the past, and you couldn't ask for anything better. The following conclusion of the match ended up with Claudio ended up picking up a victory with a low blow and picking up the pinfall. As the other CML talent, Mystico, and them was looking at ringside, they hopped over the guardrail, and John Moxley was basically said something to them and set them off, and they ended up jumping John Moxley, and then they ended up getting into a brawl with the other BCC. And then from there, we ended up having Team AEW coming down to assist, and then the Team CMLL ended up leaving the ringside, and then things broke off from there, as this looked like a nice hot topic of long-term booking leading up to Revolution, as Team AEW is taking on Team CMLL. And I look forward to seeing what happens directly in the long run when these boys get together and make the best of it. You couldn't ask for anything better when it comes to all the talent across the board on both sides, that they probably would deliver a monster mass match if it's either going to be a 5-man tag or a 6-man tag. I don't know about that. It's gonna be kind of odd and kind of weird to seeing how they would do with that combination, or unless maybe they just have it maybe by point system. Maybe Tony Khan bring that back, since they're back to the point ranking system, and see where they go for the hot take from there. Um, for the most part, we shall see what happens from there and where things pick up from there. Then they go directly to commercial break, and then Tony Khan has a direct big announcement, which was a lot of fans on social media were kind of getting into their own, trying to figure out directly what Tony Khan was talking about directly, but they already knew what it was referring to. Then Tony Khan basically addressed it off the back, as I quote. He was getting directly into it, talking about it, and he basically said that heard a couple of rumors and everything in between, and that he basically announced that this following March 13th, they will be hosting a big night in the entire pro wrestling industry, and it will be a supercard entitled Big Business, which will be AEW Big Business. That's will be the title, and it was stylized with business with the dollar signs of Mercedes Monet's branding and trademark. As you can also see it in the lower thirds, and then a couple of the little watermarks directly on the video, little wallpaper. So this is a little sneak peek of Mercedes Monet making her return, and I can guarantee vouch for that and say that that's going to be a hot take of seeing her making her own and coming directly in AEW and making a stamp and being a blueprint for a AEW roster. And I think that she could be a really hot take directly when it comes to that in her own and making the best of it. So it'll be in 5 weeks, which will be tickets will be on sale this following Saturday, and that'll be an important night in industry to remember as they will be heading to Boston at the TD Garden, where most likely it's going to either be a big reveal, including Mercedes Moné, or it's going to be some other big major announcement on the long run. But we shall see what happens when it comes to that directly. Um, then we should shoot over to the next follow match. It was Chris Jericho versus Koneska Tateska. Um, and this match went the distance. These boys put on a nice wrestling clinic. I was highly invested. Most of the matches through the night were kept me invested. It was no sleepers on any of the matches, and it kept me in tune. And I really enjoyed each and every single match. This match really was the icing on the top as Chris Jericho's looking to do his battle with the Don Callis family and take them all out one by one. But this was a tough task for him as he stepped in there against the Teska, and they put on a nice banger with some nice spots, some serious chops. They even did a nice, pretty spot by Tateska doing a through Bunder Bomb. Looked like it kind of threw Jericho off a little bit as he bumped his head directly on the mat. That was kind of like a really, really hard move to conduct, but they got it done and got it signed, sealed, and delivered. And then, of course, the takeaway of the match, of the post match, this match was smooth. It was a nice, solid 14-minute match. It went the distance. And the conclusion, we ended up having Sammy Guevara coming out and helping Jericho remove a couple of people from the Don Callis family, ended up taking out Big Hops. He ended up having a chair with him with it for a distraction, hit him in the back. And then, of course, a couple other shots directly from there. And then the one main spot was when he hit him directly over the head with the chair and sent Hops over the barricade and then basically send him out to the ringside. Then the match continued to conclude and continued going back and forth. And the conclusion of the match was Jericho had the walls Jericho directly onto Teska, looking like he was ready to tap out after he had that hell serious bump. But he held his own. And then Don Callis went ahead and went under the ring, got a steel chair, slid it into the ring to distract the referee directly. And then the referee was confused on what was going on. He grabbed a chair, turned his back. Don Callis ran up onto the ring ropes, and then hit Jericho. Proceeded to hit Jericho with a screwdriver and knocked Jericho down. Then Tateska took advantage of that and put Jericho in the walls of Jericho. Jericho was fighting back and forth as he was trying to let Ali position and then work his way to the ropes. Then Tateska pulled him back directly into the ropes, not in the ropes, basically into the center of the ring. And then Jericho was still trying to fight it off, doing the best he can. And then he ultimately succeeded when Tateska pulled back a little bit more and put his knee directly on Jericho's neck, and Jericho tapped out to the Lion Tamer, which was a very surprising defeat of seeing Jericho going down with the loss. But it's still long-term booking in the long run as seeing what will happen as Jericho's looking to make redemption when it comes to the Don Callis family. The Don Callis family has been on handling business as well as Tony Khan continues to keep them in the limelight of continue to being kind of somewhat stale, but at the same time still keeping them in a nice prime time spot, which you couldn't go wrong with that whatsoever. And the most part, the other match directly we ended up having the final main event. It was Big Bill taking on and Ricky Starks taking on Darby Allin and Sting in a nice match directly. It was a tornado tag. This match was a nice start to finish match on and off. You couldn't ask for anything better as these boys put on a nice clinic. This was Sting's final AEW match in Phoenix, Arizona, as he had his sons at ringside. And there was some nice prime spots and nice box spots as well, as including a nice table spot, including directly Sting doing a nice dive directly off the balcony onto Ricky Starks, Darby Allin, and Big Bill. And then this match really kept the fans highly invested. It fought through the outside. It came directly in the ring. It did some nice transitional tag moves, but this was a straight out fight in a brawl all the way through towards the end of the match, as the match concluded with Big Bill going directly to a table as Darby allied and worked his way over to put him to a table. Then Sting was able to lock in the Scorpion Deathlock onto Ricky Starks, and Ricky Starks ended up tapping out directly to Sting. And Sting and Darby Allin ended up becoming the new AEW World Tag Team Champions, which concluded to being Sting's first AEW Championship. I'm solely highly excited, and I appreciate you, my brother, for being able to get that one championship out the door and add another accolade to your already amazing career and having another championship directly laid out for you directly. After that, Sting had invited his sons into the ringside, and of course, they came directly in the ring and then hugged his father and celebrated. And then the pyro went off, and then nice confetti, and then the commentators were really hyping up Sting's victory directly for the match. And it was a nice little feat of seeing that and seeing how Sting was directly in his own and doing his direct thing. And you couldn't ask for anything better when it came to how they delivered everything from start to finish. Afterwards, everything else went smoothly, and then once the confetti and everything dust cleared, then we saw a camera shot, and then we see in the background we send up Nicholas and Matthew Jackson as Nick and Matt Jackson, the Young Bucks, ended up coming out all pure white, looking suited and booted, ready to go. And they came out with white bats, and they did a nice sneak attack on Sting and Darby Allin, included on a post-match beatdown. And this was something for a feat. Then he also attacked the Sting Sons and was taking all four of them down with their bat beatdown. And then somewhere into the spot, Darby Allin really got busted open really good, and he started pouring blood directly just from everywhere as he ended up just soaking both the Young Bucks' suits that were in pure white, but they had some nice kicks on. And from there, the Young Bucks took advantage of that, started to continue to rally their beat down Sting, and the match, and not the match, but basically the post beat down ended with the Young Bucks standing over Sting and Darby Allin, raising the championships and then throwing them down. So Revolution is looking like it's going to be a really hot take. I look forward to seeing what will happen directly in this match. I look forward to seeing in the long run where the road of Revolution is going to end up. There's so many directions to go with, and we have so many ways where this can take. But all the while, you guys have been amazing. I appreciate you guys coming through to show your love on this short stream for AEW Dynamite. Post your comments down below, like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. And feel free to share, and I'll catch you guys later. And until the next one, you guys be safe and peace out.